Today, I'm going to share story of my life, the journey so far in this uh, crazy world of music, and I'm going to talk about the mistakes that I have made in this journey while composing music, while writing lyrics, and not only in my profession, but also the mistakes that I have made in my real life unapologetically. And those mistakes have actually paved the way to be in this place where I am today. I'm going to start with the next slide. You can see the picture of a boy. So I guess if I remove my specs and stay in this position, that's pretty much me when I was in my fourth standard. And that was my first experience on stage. I'm so lucky to have this picture with me right now. And I still remember the nervousness that I was going through on stage because it was my first time on stage. My parents, my mom, my dad, and I, we tripled on a Bajaj scooter. We had a scooter at that time to this college. It was a polytechnic college. It was a college event. And I was the youngest of the lot to be invited to perform. It was around 9 or 10 p.m. at night when I finally got the opportunity to get up on stage and perform, which was totally new to me because mostly at 9 or 10 p.m. I would be at home either asleep or preparing for the next day for school. I was so nervous. I literally am feeling the experience that I was going through right now. My hands were shaking, my legs were trembling. I was so afraid of making mistakes, afraid that I might forget the lyrics of the song that I was going to perform, afraid that I might skip a beat. And as a matter of fact, I did make a blunder when the song started. I forgot where the cue was and I froze. They had to replay the music from the start, and then I started singing somehow. And I could even hear a comment or two from the crowd. They said, "Bhaiti, ghorle joa, kaile school ase, deri hoise, khubo lage." So they meant that ghar jao, kal school hai, abhi ghar jaake so jao. But then I started singing, and as I kept on singing, I could feel a wave of confidence slowly building up in my body. I could feel a sense of comfort as I kept on singing, that everything is going to be all right, no matter how good or how bad I was going to sing. I kept on singing, and I felt at that time when I was singing, time began to freeze. I lost the track of time. I lost my sense of awareness, and I was so engrossed in the music that I felt that apart from me, my microphone, and the song that I was singing, nothing else existed in the room and nothing else mattered. That was one of the first profound experience of the state of flow that I had felt in my lifetime. And that was one of the few moments of my life when I realized that this was one pursuit, this was one profession that I'm going to take up when I grow up. So basically today I'm going to talk about how to embrace our fears, our anxieties of making mistakes or making blunders instead of avoiding them and moving on and move on in our life. As an aspiring musician, I've always wondered what is there in music that moves us so much. isn't mere speech enough to connect with a person? Say suppose I'm talking to you in normal speech, but if I add a melody to it, I'm pretty sure I'm having your attention. Because when you add a melody to your words, you get attention. So I'm pretty sure I have your ears, right? Okay. So I did a simple tweaking to the words. I added a melody. So basically, I put the words in a certain kind of order. And as human beings, we have this natural tendency towards order, to be in sync with order. Just like our human bodies are. Our human bodies are kind of musical instruments in themselves. Right from the place, right from our breathing patterns. When we breathe in a certain kind of pattern. When we are happy, we breathe faster, or when we run, we breathe faster. When we are relaxed, we breathe slower. Our heart beats, pumps blood into our system at different rates, but the heart is always in rhythm. Our pulses on our wrists, they also follow a certain kind of rhythm. So in this way, even our throat, our vocals, it's nothing but a musical instrument. So in this way, our human bodies are musical instruments in themselves. And it is thus obvious for us to be attracted towards music, not only physically, but also emotionally. And that what makes us so inclined towards music, and makes a musician like me fall in love with music, and that has shaped a huge place in my life to take music as a profession. And music has no limit, it has no barriers. I'm pretty much sure everyone in this room has come across one particular song in their life where they do not understand the lyrics, but they move their bodies, you move your bodies to the rhythm of the song or to the vibe of the song. And I had the privilege of performing a Bihu song outside Assam. Recently I did a project in Bombay where I sung our folk songs, and people, even though they didn't understand the lyric, they started dancing to it. So in this way, I believe our Assamese folk has that appeal, that strength, that heritage, that impetus to change, to connect to an audience on a wider aspect and we can connect to a wider audience all around the world with our Assamese folk. And Assamese music, with its rich heritage, with its rich history, and with legends like Bhupen Hazarika, Jayanta Hazarika, Vishnu Prasad Rabha, Jyoti Prasad Agarwala. So those people, those artists were like the gemstones of our Assamese music. And as an aspiring artist, I was always intrigued by their creation and by their ability to take the language, take the music beyond the boundaries of culture and geography. So yeah, as I was saying, music acts as a bridge between our thoughts and our expressions. When we fail to express ourselves in words, we take up arts or performance or any form of expression. Because I believe human language, speech, has its own limitations. We can only express how are we feeling to a certain extent when we speak. For example, if I'm feeling sad today, I have to express my sadness to someone. If I have to express my sadness to someone, I might say, I'm feeling very sad. But how sad I'm feeling right now? Very sad, very, very sad, extremely sad. We will run out of adjectives to describe our sadness. So, when I sing when I write my expressions in phrases of poetry, then maybe it becomes clearer for me to express as well as for the audience to perceive as per their own individual experiences of their lives. So in this way, I believe like when our speech fails to connect, music then acts as a bridge to translate our thoughts into expressions. And in this process of music making, when I wrote Ki Bedonate, when I composed Ki Bedonate, I was going through a crisis in my life. Maybe some of you might call it existential crisis or a heartbreak. And it was in the fourth year of my engineering college, and I didn't know where my life was going to be. And I was in a dilemma if I want to pursue engineering or if I want to take up music as a full form profession. It was then when I had to let go of my feelings, my emotions that I was feeling at that time. And I took up my keyboard and I started composing. I started composing, and the first melody that occurred in my mind spontaneously was this line. Moya ko ahilo pagun hoi tomale, moya ko bhotim bimukh hoi tomare. Okay, that was one melody that I caught, and the words spontaneously came to the melody, as if I felt, oh my God, what did I write? It felt as if the melody was writing itself. The words were writing itself, and I was just there with my pen, being the spectator of the creative process. I was not aware at that time. I felt like, oh my God, I'm such a genius. What did I write? But if I look back now, it was just a spark of inspiration that I had. And if I sit back and try to rewrite the song in another format or make another composition out of that inspiration, I might not be able to do so. I'm pretty sure I'm not be able to create it again. Okay, out of inspiration, I made those melodies, and then I had to proceed with the song. Okay, that was when I got stuck. I started creating melodies, which I thought that would, connect with the part which I just composed. Then I composed. Okay, it's not working. This is not working either. No, this is like, dude, it's going nowhere. So, I created 10 different melodies to sync with the portion which occurred to me spontaneously. But then I got stuck there. It was really frustrating because I wanted to create a perfect song, because that was the first song that I thought that I would release it. I tried to create something very perfect. I cannot afford to make mistakes. I cannot afford to compromise with my emotions. So all those melodies that I created, and out of all those melodies, finally I chose. I chose that. And in that process, the rest of the melodies I would technically consider to be mistakes or errors. Because when I'm performing the song right now, if I sing those melodies which I discarded, people will say, you're singing it wrong. This is not the actual melody of the song. It's an error. But again, it was those errors that I made while composing the song that finally led me to that melody. If I had not made those errors, if I had not pushed myself, even though I was not feeling inspired at that moment, but I pushed myself, I challenged myself, I would not have arrived at that melody. So in this way, that was one experience from which I have learned that creativity can be a spark of inspiration, but that is a very small percentage. Most of the creative process comes from brute force, comes from working, comes from challenging yourself. It's a very, it's like a very bang on, head on collision with an infinite darkness against a wall, a concrete wall where you have to constantly bang your head against. It's tiring, it's brutal, it's energy draining, but yet you have to keep on grinding and you cannot afford to give up. Else, I would never have been able to make the song. So, now, if I talk about errors and if I talk about flow, you might say, how can errors gravitate towards flow? How can we achieve flow with errors? And what exactly is flow? I've been talking about flow, I've been mentioning the word flow from my first slide itself. So, there's this writer called Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. He has explored and written a thesis on flow and how flow actually can lead to true happiness. So flow is nothing but a zone, a mental zone, where you lose sense of the past, of the present, the future. You are just in the moment and you allow the universe to make decisions for you. You do not care about the result. You are totally engaged in the process. It's just like meditation. You are in the moment, you are present. You do not care about your ego. You do not care about all the judgments. You do not care about the mistakes that you're going to make in the process. You just close your eyes and surrender yourself to the abundance of creativity that is there in the universe. And this realization of flow actually came from another author. His name is Pat Pattinson. He has written a book on how to write better lyrics. And there he has mentioned a practice on something called sensory writing, or what we call object writing. And that practice really helped me in writing lyrics, and it can help you guys, it can help anyone in any kind of pursuit. So what exactly is sensory writing? It's letting your senses, so how many senses we have? We have our sight, we have our hearing, sound, taste, smell, touch, right? But according to him, there are two more senses. One is what we feel inside in our organs. Suppose if I'm in love, I can feel butterflies in my stomach, right? So stomach here is another sense, according to him. And there's another sense called motion. Say, the blowing of the wind, the rustling of the river, the sound of the AC. These are the personal lessons that I learned in my journey, and I would request everyone here that next time when you listen to a song, try not to be the audience, try to be the creator as well. Just imagine, how would I have written this song? How would I have composed this song? That way would make you feel the song even more. You'll get into the song, you'll get into the vibe of the song, you'll get into the story behind the song, behind the emotions, behind the passion with which the artist has created that song. And that is one of the most beautiful things that you can take away from life, from all the creations and all the expressions that creative people tend to do. So I hope I could enlighten at least a few of you with my journey. And with this, I would like to conclude my talk today. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.